Everything's not awesome. Sequels rarely live up to expectation. Lego Movie 2. Please, oh please, just don't suck.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Take 2, a movie review series critiquing the latest films hitting the cinemas and discussing which ones to see and which ones to avoid at all costs. I'm Tony Whatley II, and everything is awesome! As I reviewed the way too longly awaited sequel to the Lego Movie 2, the second part. 5 years after everything was awesome, Emmett and the gang now live in a post-apocalyptic world ravaged by an unknown yet cutesy threat from outer space. A mysterious spaceship then arrives, kidnaps Wildstyle and the others, driving Emmett into action to save his friends from these evil Legos. I think we all can agree that the first Lego movie took us completely by surprise. What I thought was going to be a cheaply made, cringe-inducing, pulp culture reference-heavy advertisement for Legos turned out to be a well-written, colorfully animated, surprisingly clever and witty film that perfectly captured a child's imagination during play, was hilarious from beginning to end with so many likable characters, and had a surprising amount of heart to it, more so than even I expected. Basically, it did not turn out to be the Emoji Movie, and I'm pretty sure we all know how that turned out. And so, 5 years, one great spin-off and one awful spin-off later, and we finally have the sequel we've been asking for. So, is everything still awesome? Well, let's find out. The animation still looks fantastic, full of color and energy. I especially love the design of as well as the way that they animated her, constantly changing her appearance quite fluidly, I might add. Oh, and by the way, expect me to mention her a lot in this review. The voice acting is solid here, from the returning cast to the new additions. The best performance in the entire film, which is equally the most surprising, at least for me, was Tiffany Haddish as Queen Whatever a Wannabe. Now, personally, I find her pretty annoying and one-note as an actress, especially when it comes to her voice. But here as Queen Whatever Wannabe, she fits the role perfectly and is not annoying in the slightest. I loved the energy that she brought to her character. And I know that some of you have caught on to this already, but the song Not Evil is not only my personal favorite, not only is it the best and most visually interesting song of the bunch, but it's also a simplistically clever song as well. It's also infectiously catchy, more so than the song Catchy Song, ironically enough. And okay, I've been hinting to it heavily for the past few points now, so let's just flat out address it, shall we? I love the character Queen Whatever Wannabe. Much like the first Lego movie, she is totally not what I expected. I did not expect to like this character that much. She's charismatic, funny, and such a delight to watch. And lastly, there were a few good jokes sprinkled throughout the film and a really touching moment near the end of the film, much like the first film. But it pains me to my core to tell you guys that I did find quite a few issues with the Lego Movie 2. The biggest one of them all was the lack of charm that once existed in this series. What once worked before is less effective this time around. Like when they would pronounce real-world objects. Even the self-aware humor didn't quite land. They weren't cringy, they were just underwhelming. I felt as though the creative team behind the sequel were trying a little too hard to make these jokes work, rather than the naturalistic vibe the jokes had in the first. Speaking of underwhelming, the story wasn't all that compelling. Sure, there's some high points here and there, but nothing to make you fully invested, much like the first. The climax was complete weak sauce, lacking in any thrilling action, and you can make the same argument for the rest of the film. I really disliked how they sidelined so many of our favorite characters from the first film. Lord Business, Bad Cop, Metalbeard, Unikitty, even the Batman barely had anything to contribute to this film. And lastly, outside of Queen Whatever Wannabe, 2 songs, the other musical numbers were bland, generic, and completely forgettable, especially the catchy song, which is anything but, claiming that this is a song that's gonna get stuck in your head, but it ends up just being an afterthought. I guess when it comes down to it, guys, maybe waiting 5 years to make a sequel was a bit too long. I found the Lego Movie 2, the second part, to be a mixed bag of a film. There were elements that I really enjoyed about the film, but then there were others that I found underwhelming and fell flat on its face. It definitely does not have the same charm, the same essence as the first film, but there are things to enjoy about Lego Movie 2, the second part. That's why I'm gonna give the film 3 Lego bricks out of 5. And that was my take on the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Be sure to share your takes in the comment section below. And now it's time to feature our favorite comment from last week's Miss Bala review. This one coming from Domeju, I hope I pronounced that right, who writes, "Me gusta muy bien." Well, domo arigato, Mr. Domeju. Wait a minute, that's not Spanish, is it? Yeah, regardless, if you would like your comment to be featured in next week's episode, be sure to leave a comment below telling us what you thought about the Lego Movie 2, the second part, or what you thought about this very review. And we'll be sure to share that in the next episode of Take 2. As always, I'm your host, Tony Whatley II, and cut!